Good. Great sunrise shines. Welcome, 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 light beings. It's time for today's World 411. And today we are looking at the news from metaphysical eyes because it's critical at this point. So let's get into it, family. Let's get into the news today. Hold on. Okay. I don't have it, so I think I do have it, but it's not enough. They won't let me get this news. They won't let me use this news. So let me find it under something else. Debate was over They will not let me open this up on the computer, so I have to read it off my phone. Let me see. Let me go here. My news changes every often. Oh my goodness. Let me look at this. We have rare heat wave event is forecast this weekend. Let me try to see if I can find that, and they'll let me show that part. But the coronavirus news that I had is it's giving me. I can try it. I'll try it still. To get into this one, so I'll share this one, but I'll still try to get the other news information. Finally, here we go. Hopefully it'll come up. Okay. This is it. This is it. Okay. Ooh. We have a rare heat wave event is forecast. And also, don't forget, family, we have something in our sky that is happening that they're calling the Neowise. And the Neowise hasn't happened in 6,000 years. And we all know what has happened to us as people who contain the solar on the planet. That's the time we fell into humanity and our demise was under control by people, how should I say it, a group of nomads, a group of barbarians, a group of people whose whole purpose on the planet is to kill, steal, and destroy, and prevent you from reaching your greatest height and escaping this reality, have taken over the planet. I usually call it the wicked. But let's get into the forecast and let's get into some facts. Oh, God. All right, let's go. A rare heat wave event is forecast this weekend, the National Weather Service says. And this by Virginia Langmaid and Judson Jones of CNN. Let's play the video.
In these unprecedented times, businesses are forced to adapt and change to the rapidly shifting needs of consumers. In this short series with Invesco QQQ,
as temperatures soar, we know that heat exhaustion and heat stroke are a frightening reality. But we also know the things that we should do. Avoid exercise during the heat of the day, drink lots of fluids. But there are some things you should not do, and they may surprise you. Avoid drinking ice cold water. The water temperature is much, much colder than your core body temperature. When you drink it, it could result in muscle cramps, which will cause you to drink less water. When it's super hot outside, box fans are useless. But when the temperature gets above 98 degrees or warmer than your body temperature, it's just spreading more hot air. The best bet is to find air conditioning. Avoid sugary sports drinks. Sports drinks are great when replenishing electrolytes after a workout, but when it comes to hot temperatures, the last thing you need. A lot of them contain a lot of sugar and even caffeine, which can make you feel more thirsty. Avoid high protein food. We're not talking about cut them out altogether, but just cut back. In fact, food high in protein can take 50 to 100% more energy to digest. So on those hot summer days, you may be better off eating fruits and breads as opposed to chicken on the barbecue.
Okay. Parts of southwestern United States are under an excessive heat warning going into this weekend. Temperatures are forecast to reach as high as 120 degrees Fahrenheit in some areas, and officials are urging people to take precautions as this high can turn deadly. See? Check how hot it will get where you live. Forecasting from the National Weather Service predicts a high of 126 in Death Valley, California. Phoenix, Arizona expects a high of 117 Sunday, and Las Vegas, Nevada is preparing for weekend highs of 113. Heat is the story over the next 7 days. We'll go from very hot to extremely hot over the weekend. The excessive heat watch for Friday through Monday has been converted to a warning. The peak numbers we're looking at happen less than 1 day per year on average. So that's what's going on with the weather and what we're facing. Also in the news, let me see if they'll let me get this back up, and then I'm going to try to use it to the best as I can. I don't know how I got rid of the little thing last time, but it's on there. But I'm going to try. Let me see. They're making me get a subscription on this news. Let me see if I can get it another way. Yeah, they want you to pay for that latest news. Let me see. And a big healthy price. So there's no way for me to get over it. Okay. Okay, all I can get is this, but I'm going to share what I can get. I'm going to share what I can get here. Hey, welcome. Nook, welcome. I'm going to share the best to my ability what I can get here on the news. All they're going to let me share is this. They, Washington Post, they want you to pay $10 to $15 a month for this. But anyway, it says time to shut down again as cases surge. A growing chorus make the case. Governors face pressure from public health experts and local leaders to reimpose stay-at-home orders as the only way to gain control of outbreaks that threaten to send the death count rocketing. So the issue with corona, they claim that we're the face of it, but it's growing so into an issue it's growing into a deeper issue. And in between the changes of the planet and the diseases that are coming in, and of course, the neo-wise, I'm going to talk about that. Hold on, let me get that together too. Okay. Let me get into this. Now, we're going to be able to see it. Okay. Neowise, the brightest comet in years, is visible now. How to catch it? It's already possible to see Neowise with just binoculars or even with the naked eye as it comes closer to the Earth. Okay. That's a picture. And now they're saying that we should be able to see it at night. We should, what it'll do is light up the sky at night. So we should be able to see it now at night. Comet Neowise might just be the biggest space snowball in decades after two other promising comets discovered earlier in 2020 faded away. All this distraction. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Okay. Seems posed to deliver. Last week, it passed a critical point. It survived its closest pass by the sun only July the 3rd without cracking up the heat. As many comets often do, over the weekend, a number of amateur astrophotographers began sharing stunning images of the comet captured as it appeared just above the horizon in pre-dawn skies. So what I'm going to do is also I'm going to share if I can get videotape of what I see outside as well. Okay. According to NASA Solar System Ambassador, it should remain visible just before and around the time of the first light until July the 11th. Okay. The comet will then dip below the horizon as it transitions from being an early riser to a cocktail hour sensation. Hopefully, it'll start to be visible again in the evening around July the 15th to the 16th, so we'll be able to see it around that time in the evening. It should be a little easier to see during the second half of July when it's a little higher in the sky. Until that point, it'll be closer to the northeastern horizon. Right now, the advice being shared by many of those who have successfully spotted the comet is the first located in the sky using binoculars or a telescope. Once you found it and its trademark split tail, you should be able to then track it with the naked eye. See this picture? Okay, and it just goes on to talk about how the comet closest pass by Earth will be on July the 23rd. So July the 23rd, you'll see it pass by more closer to the Earth, which might make for a particular exciting view, means opportunity if the comet's brightness continues to hold where it is even intensifies. It's also rise a little higher in the sky on July the 24th and 25th in case you missed the actual flyby date. And that's some more information on it. Okay. Yeah. Let me try to get this news. Oh, yeah, I already got that. I did get that. Okay. It's reopening debate. Okay, that's it for that news. Now let's get into some other news. I don't know if they're going to let me get this news yet or not. Okay. Okay, they let me get this news. Okay. We got too much stuff up here. So let me get this first. Of course, you know, family, that hey, that guy from Texas, welcome. I'm gonna share my screen again. I was trying to find where they threatened.
Unknown caller.
Where we received the threats over the weekend, before the weekend of the 4th of July. But this is the only recent news on the threats. And they're calling the threats, they're trying to say the threats against the Black community were not legit. But for some reason, our crime has spiked in the Black community, as well as they're saying we're suffering coronavirus. So let's get into that news. But this is the news that's saying that, I really don't want to get into it because they're just saying that someone called and threatened, you know, the KKK, claimed to be the KKK, and they were tired of the cities being burnt down. And then the guy turns around and says that he only did it because he loved the area and he didn't want it to be, you know, by protesters, be affected by protesters once he went there and visited and stuff like that. It was just a lot of BS. So it really wasn't really even worth me reading this article. But the fact is, we heard on national television the threats, and threats by police as well. But I don't think they still have those things up. But, you know, but let's get into the gun violence is surging in cities and hitting communities of color hardest. Communities of color have endured the weight of COVID-19, the recession, and social unrest. They're also bearing the brunt of surge in gun violence, is what they're saying. All of a sudden, we have this surge in gun violence. Okay. Chicago, again, is what they're talking about. For many major U.S. cities, this year has been marked by bullets and bloodshed. Over 1,500 people have been shot in Chicago, almost 900 in Philadelphia, and more than 500 in New York City so far in 2020. All up significantly from the same time last year. The surge in shootings have been particularly painful for communities of color, which have disproportionately endured the weight of COVID-19 crisis. The economic recession and social unrest following the death of George Floyd in police custody in Minneapolis in May. In New York City, after the number of shooting victims more than doubled from June 2019 on this June, every person to this June who has been shot this July, nearly 100 in total, has been a member of minority community, according to the police department. And in June, 97% of the shooting victims were minorities, the department says. In Chicago, where the obvious majority communities have long struggled with deadly gun violence, shootings have increased 76% from the same time last year. with nearly all the bloodshed concentrated in the cities, predominantly Black and brown communities on the south and west side. Now, family, I'm not going to get into this whole news, but this is what they're saying. So now, let me see, what's this? I'm gonna close out. That's old news. Get rid of these news. That's still the news for record. I just got jumped out. I'm sorry about that. But now I'm going to get into the discussion of why it's not realistic to think that Caucasians are here to be our friends. Our reality is that since the Caucasian has been on the planet, the Caucasian has raped, pillaged, murdered our people. And you have to ask yourself why. And they have made us insignificant people. And again, we have to ask ourselves why. We have to, and they have wiped out our knowledge about ourselves and replaced it with nothing but knowledge, with the dominance of their energy. Okay, I'm just going to put it like that. Metaphysically, it's called the dominance of their energy. You have to ask yourself why. Most people will not come to you and relay this information like this. They will let you go along with the program, play the game. But I am going to give you what Randolph Pascal wanted to give his brothers and sisters back in the day, which is the tools, the weapons, the information to deal with what we're enduring and to counteract the whole situation. This is why I think guns are very important. Hey, President George Jefferson. Here's why I think guns in the Black community, good health, growing your own foods. I just opened my strawberries up this morning and they already rotten. So growing your own food, trying to be more independent, chanting reparations for separations, especially in this time, especially utilize whatever astrological things that we have around us, the moon, the sun, all that, to bring to fruition what we want to see. Do rituals, everything. I'm all for it. You got to be all well-rounded. You have to be balanced. We have to use the weapons to protect ourselves in our Black communities because at a record height, they are being violent towards us. They are taking us out. Whether it be a demon-minded Black person that has been possessed by, that's just been engulfed by so much of the lower energies, because we got to realize the society that we're in. We're in the dominance of low energy. The wicked rules the world, so the wicked is in control of our own people. And even if it is our own people, it's due to their mentality of violence, violence, violence that's been impressed upon us as Black people. So it's still the same evil hand, regardless. And we have to stop what we see in the news from happening. We have to counteract that in our Black communities. And once we get that on the wraps and start recognizing just how powerful we are and how important we are to this planet. And the reason why nature is killing them off. We see record heights in the heat records. You know, we see that, but I'm also going to share something, you know, I'm going to share what the ancestors do, what our ancestors do to them. I talked about it in previous videos before that a lot of people think, and then my brother, he brought it back up again. He did his own video on it. And who's that? Let me see if I can bring his, I'm going to share his video. Let me see, because my batteries are going dead at a record height. So I'm going to try to share that. I think because the heat, the battery wants to go so fast. Let me get this together here, because it was the last video I saw last night, but I think it's important that we understand what our ancestors, people who die violently at the hands of the Caucasian, because it affects our energies, the violent death, we're not able to rise. We're not able to surpass the physical constraints of this planet. So when we die of a violent death, our souls are pretty much lost or stuck in this dimension. We need to stop that from happening. We really need to work on stopping that from happening. I'm trying to find this. Was he up there earlier? Okay, here we go. He said,
I'm back. It's RFG.
Okay,
back at it.
Okay. I did my own video, but I don't think that I explained it as clearly as this brother did. But I'm not going to play his whole video, but just some of what he's saying I'm going to share. I don't have time. My battery's going down on me. But just some of what he's saying. Okay.
And I'm here with more paradigm-shattering, mind-blowing information. So just myself, the most famous movies that deal with demonic possession and haunting, all right, hauntings, they're based on true stories that were all about Native American burial grounds and Caucasians getting terrorized by the spirits, by the souls of our ancestors, of the indigenous, and they made our ancestors look like evil demons. Mm-hmm. All right? Okay? Now, it's going to...
So he talks about the same thing that I talked about years ago. but a lot of people didn't understand what I was trying to say. And I tried to put it as plainly as I could. That what happens to the Caucasian, hold on, family, let me go get my battery, my charger. All right, I got it. That's why it's important. That's why it's important to get these videos out. You know, too many of our people are Christians. Too many of our people have been tricked and controlled in the mind to a point of their detriment, to their detriment. And that's why they can be sitting ducks out here getting killed by Corona Beer Bellies. You know, that's why they can be sitting ducks, you know. And then not only that is we've been fed this illusion of you bleed red, I bleed red. Our skin is just, you know, a shade difference. It's more to it. It's way more to it. There's a reason why they're totally different than we are. And we have to recognize that and deal with it. We have to dig deep. There's a reason why it crosses your mind to understand deeper what's really the deal, what's really going on. Because it's put there for you to do that. It's meant for you to study that and examine that so that you can understand the world around you and what's going on. The signs are there. So our ancestors are the ones that possess these people. Our ancestors are the ones that are do the activity because those are the people who died tragic deaths at the hands of the colonizers. And we still dying tragic death at their hands. Be it from disease, be it from them killing us. It's a fact. It's a fact that cannot be denied. Because they're always tormented. We're never tormented. But what we have to recognize is that you don't have friends. It's important that you know that you do not have no friends of the opposite race. And it's not we all one human race. It ain't about that. We all one human race for them because the sitting duck is a great thing for them because you're an easy kill. You're an easy kill. So we know that nature is killing them at record heights. So in counteracting that is we must be killed in higher rates. We know that they are dying off due to the changes of the planet. So what did they have to do back to you as a people? They have to kill us all. So all I'm saying is we need to protect ourselves. We need to do better by ourselves. We need to stop this black on black crime thing they want to talk about. Because why is that so important? White people kill everybody. White people kill everybody. But yet they're supposed to be the light of the world. That's a falsehood. That's why I call myself light bearer. To remind you of that falsehood that is in that book. And the truth that is in that book at the same time. The metaphysical truth of that book. And anyone have anything, any comments you want to make? Anybody want to come up and share anything? Let me copy this. Oh, before I copy that, let me paste this. That's his. That's the brother's video. In case anybody wants to. Let me make sure. Make sure that's his video. That's his video. In case anybody, yeah, that's his. In case anybody wants to go back and look and check out his video, check out that brother's video. That whole video is good. It's going to give you more information. But one thing that he did leave out is that the Caucasian is your natural born enemy. And nobody's going to put that out too much. Everybody thinks in their mind, especially guys, men, for some reason. And that's a danger for us as children. Our children and women are not getting the protection that they need. Because black men think they think that they think in the physical is more dominant for them because they are, I know what it is. It's the energy of the black man. The energy of the black man is, and they have put this, it's not a spell, but it might as well be similar to a spell, which is the patriarchal. Because let me tell you how the patriarchal works. It's the dominance. It's a dominance mentality that was put upon a black man. And why do I express a black man? Because a black man needs his balance. Because he's uromelanin, which is powerful. That dark matter I talked about. But it has to be balanced with the negative and the positive. But because our dominance is patriarchal, everything's about senses, smell, feel, touch, and his senses is strong in the physical. So it's more enticing for him to be the physical side than to focus on his great black mama side, his inner side. And of course, that's been discouraged because people have put that feminine side that has to be something about a female. No, that feminine is his strength, is his higher senses. It's his capability to go back past his penis and his feeling touch on the outer, on the surface. It's his ability to rise above that gut, living in the gutter. It's his ability to become a superpower again once he reaches that. Once he goes into himself and recognizes his intuition, his creativity, his higher self. But at the same time, balancing it out with this physical, carnal experience. then will he be a powerhouse. Because like I said, we need our guns. We need our love for our people, our love for ourselves. And we need these ancestors that are out here trying to break free. But these damn Caucasians. Here we go. Let me show this. Let me share this video. Let me go back here. I'm going to share this last video. And let me actually go through the comments here. Nook, welcome, brother. President George, great sunrise, brother. Good day, sir. Good morning and peace, sister. Hey, that guy from Texas, welcome. And Nook said, facts, I hope the new Gamma rays changes us non-GMO. Yes, exactly. We have to grow our own. Matter of fact, I'm going to be working on my garden soon. I'm just mad because I ordered a greenhouse and it didn't come in. So that kind of puts a damper on my plans. I could have gotten a greenhouse a long time ago. Hey, Miss Life Lessons, I'm glad to see you this morning. And D Calico, it's great seeing you, brother. So I'm probably going to have to, because I do not like doing my garden outside without that protection. So what I'm going to have to do is I might have to get I hate to get those little cheap things for your garden, for your greenhouse, those little, because I know it's not going to last, but that's what I need. But I'm thinking about going ahead and planting my stuff, my seeds. I need to go ahead and do it. I was going to do it in pots first, so I'll try to see how that works. But then I need to do the backyard and get ready for next year garden, hopefully. So I have to really get that ready. Or if I can catch this year, I'll catch it this year and go ahead and start growing some things in the ground. Yeah, so yeah, let's get into this video and see our ancestors in action. Because you know that the exorcists and stuff like that was nothing more than our ancestors. And what happens is when, you know, the white people they don't have a solar. They don't have a solar system. They don't have a soul. So once that energy, that high energy goes into their bodies, it burns them up. It changes them to like demons, like creatures. That's what we view. That's what people on earth view it as, demons. But it's not demons. It's a soul, a black soul, black person that was once carnal on earth. Now they're spiritual, the unseen, and their energy is just outrageously high and too high for their bodies to take. But it's trying to escape this reality. And because the Caucasian has been put on the earth to prevent us from escaping through our Kundalini, and by murdering us and putting us through tragic trauma and stuff like this, they are our demons and they think we're their demons. So let's get into the video, family. I needed to get rid of some things. Let me get rid of some things real quick. You know what? hold on. Actually, they're talking about, in this, they're talking about how they had, hold on, let me see if I can fix this. How they had real experiences during the filming of this. And I thought that was, I'm going to share this. I only use this for educational purposes under the 1976 copyright law. Okay.
With the terrifying turn of the head, The Exorcist spawned a new breed of horror film.
I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to tell my mother?
Audiences kept repeating, it's only a movie.
People were vomiting, it was just this intense, visceral reaction to the film.
Yet each bone-chilling scene pulled them deeper into the belly of the beast.
I ain't never took my coat and put it on my face like that.
Seeing the movie was an emotional assault. Making the movie pure hell. She was just yelling, stop, stop, stop.
People on the set were starting to get a little freaked out.
There was a great feeling that bad things were happening.
I got the sense that the devil's going to get me.
3 decades and 3 sequels later, the demon surfaced again. And so did the bizarre happening.
This place, it's cursed.
I'm coming from a restaurant, walking across the crosswalk, and a car comes from another stopped car, hits me, almost kills me.
Coincidence or the work of the devil? Judge for yourself if you dare. Curse of the Exorcist, the true Hollywood story.
Like they say, you play with fire, you get burned. This isn't the only movie that had the curse.
On August 20th, 2004, Exorcist the Beginning opened in theaters across America. The supernatural thriller is a prequel to what has been called the scariest movie of all time, The Exorcist, released in 1973. Exorcist the Beginning tells the story of Father Merrin, the elderly priest who performed the exorcism in the original film. In the beginning, the young Merrin faces the devil for the first time. Exorcist the Beginning is the latest chapter in a pop culture phenomenon that began in 1971 with the publication of William Peter Blatty's chilling novel, The Exorcist. The book, about an innocent girl possessed by a demon, sold more than 13 million copies in the United States alone.
It was exciting, and I think it was also comforting in a strange way to a lot of Americans. Here is ultimate good, represented by these heroic priest exorcists that Blatty so graphically portrays in his novel.
2 years later, the screen version of The Exorcist became one of the highest-grossing films of the 70s and one of the most eerily troubled productions in Hollywood history.
It was the kind of movie, when the movie was finished, all he wanted to do is leave the movie business and never have anything to do with the movie business again.
The Exorcist was no ordinary scarefest. In fact, the movie hit a profound nerve in the national psyche.
I can't even describe it. It's so horrible.
I didn't set out to scare the hell out of people, as you do with a horror film. I set out to make a film that would make them think about the concept of good and evil.
But there was something even more disturbing about The Exorcist.
The reason it was a stunner was that Bill Blatty did his homework. Blatty researched it. He based it on a real situation, a historical, factual situation about a boy who was possessed.
Flashback 24 years to a winter's day in 1949. The place, Cottage City, Maryland, a quiet community outside Washington, D.C. The victim, a 13-year-old schoolboy whose name was never revealed. The boy's nightmare began gradually with a series of strange, seemingly inexplicable occurrences.
The mother and father are out one night, the grandmother and the boy here,
sounds in the walls. It sounds like scratchings in the walls. When the mother and father come home, they tell them, and the father calls in a exterminator, thinking that it's rats in the walls or mice in the walls. Well, there isn't any rat, there isn't any mouse.
No one knew it at the time, but the bizarre event known as a possession was taking hold.
The 3 stages of diabolical activity are infestation, oppression, and possession. The first stage, infestation, is usually the beginning when the demonic start to interact with the physical world in connection with the family. You might get whisperings. You might hear small animals.
And then the boy is in bed one night. This is all happening rapidly over a short period of time. And he feels his bed starting to move. This is observed by the mother and father and the grandmother.
The parents of the young teenager made an emergency call to their Lutheran minister.
According to the pastor's testimony of this, he puts the boy on the floor on a mattress. The mattress moves, goes and bangs into the under the part of the bed. And the next morning, the pastor says, this is beyond me. And he tells the father and mother, this is something Catholics understand. He's got to go to a priest.
For people who aren't Catholic, other religious denominations, even no religion at all, by the time they're looking to seek help as far as it being demonic possession, they don't really care who they're going to get the help from. They just want it.
The family took their minister's advice and contacted a Catholic priest at St. James Church in nearby Mount Rainier, Maryland. The priest took the report very seriously.
The priest then checks the boy into Georgetown University Hospital and confides in some people in the hospital as to what he's going to do. And he starts the exorcism. There are stories about what happens next. The boy, although he's strapped down, manages to reach under the bed, break off a piece of the inner spring, and slash the priest's arm. Priest screams. He has a cut on his arm that goes up to his elbow, and he ends the exorcism.
The boy's family became desperate.
They wound up relocating from the Washington, D.C. area to St. Louis, and at St. Louis University, they were able to make contact with a Jesuit.
His superior sent him to the Archbishop of St. Louis, who is very reluctant to engage in exorcism. But he does, with reluctance, the exorcism. It's very simple. It's just a series of prayers, at that time said in Latin. And it's repetitious. It really just says, I'm the priest, I'm representing Jesus Christ, and in the name of Jesus Christ, I'm telling you to get out of that victim. And then it's supposed to happen. It doesn't happen.
There were apparently horrific demonic fights.
They try to use the very thing this brother talks about, is religion, against the spirits, against our soulers. But the religion is so fake. It's a lie. The only reason why it affects some of these solar beings is because they died a tragic death at the hands of the fake religion. And it reminds them of that tragic death. And that's the reason why some of them do flee the body of their host. But those who did not die of the suffer torment because of religion, but they suffered the torment because of something else. The fake religion doesn't work on them because it does not make sense to. It doesn't phase the soul. It doesn't phase the soul. It's like nothing. So
fireworks, terrific demonic grotesquerie, howlings from beyond the grave, carvings on the boy's flesh, spinning heads, terrible, terrible, disturbing, frightening, grotesque phenomena. All of this stuff was faithfully recorded in a diary that these Jesuit priest exorcists took.
And this goes on for a total of about 6 weeks. On Easter itself, the boy is more violent than he had been in a long time.
The third stage, actually, possession, is self-explanatory. The demon has, in fact, broken down a person's will sufficiently to possess that person's body.
With no hope in sight, the boy's parents almost gave up.
On the Monday after Easter, there is the sound of an explosion. Everyone says it sounded like a gunshot. And everyone who hears it senses that it has to do with the boy in the room. And when they go into the room, a boy's sitting up in bed, his big smile on his face, and he says it's gone. And it was all over.
Not for long. A local journalist caught wind of the strange incident and wrote it up in the Washington Star.
He broke the story in the evening paper, and then Washington Post said, well, we've got to have a story too. And they went after it, and it was a larger story. In 1949, Peter Blatty was an undergraduate at Georgetown University in Washington. He starts to think, wow, this is something I'm going to clip out and keep for a while. It was a sensational story.
Blatty filed the article away and continued his studies. In 1951, he joined the Air Force. Soon after that, Blatty started to write, but he specialized in laughs, not screams.
He'd been a very well-known writer in the film business. I'm not sure whether this was his first novel or not, but yeah, he was an important writer at that time.
Blatty made a good living cranking out comedies like the Pink Panther classic A Shot in the Dark. But by 1967, audiences grew tired of slapstick.
Comedy had fallen into decline in the motion picture business. And I said, oh, fine, I'm a writer. I can write anything. Put me up for this, that. I couldn't get any serious assignment. Blatty, he's a comedy writer. I mean, just off the wall. Farce is what I was best known for. And so I thought, well, I have nothing else to do other than go down to the unemployment office every week. I think I'll write that novel I've been thinking about for so many years.
Blatty decided to pen a new kind of story based on the clippings he saved nearly 2 decades earlier. The 39-year-old writer then got in touch with one of the priests who assisted in the 1949 exorcism in Maryland.
Blatty gets a letter back from Father Bowden, which I've seen, in which Father Bowden says, I can't tell you anything about this. Preserve don't identify the boy. But he says, I'll tell you one thing about it. It was the real thing. So Blatty changes the victim from a boy to a girl.
At a party on New Year's Eve, 1967, William Blatty met an executive from Bantam Books and told him the extraordinary tale of the child possessed by Satan. When the sun rose on 1968, Blatty had a handshake.
Now you know what they call Satan is the Soular. That's why it's the fire. That's why so basically knowing that we are the enemy for them, which we know we're not. That's why in the Bible it says you have no enemy. But we're dealing with the cardinal people that are stuck in the cardinal. Right? So
deal to write the novel that changed the face of movie horror forever. Coming up, lights, camera, pea soup.
Anything he did to me was uncomfortable. I mean, they plastered my face in every direction.
And later
was a great feeling that bad things were happening during the making of the movie.
In 1949, a real-life exorcism made headlines in a small Maryland town. 20 years later, writer William Peter Blatty cut a deal to document the bizarre incident in a chilling book. In 1971, The Exorcist was published, but sales were slow. Then, Blatty appeared as a last-minute guest on The Dick Cavett Show. Within a week, The Exorcist hit the bestseller list and stayed there for 55 weeks.
Here comes Blatty with his book, seemingly out of the blue. And he was bringing us to a more medieval kind of reality. And he was saying, look, there is supernatural evil. There is diabolical evil. It's afoot in the land.
The Exorcist became a national sensation, and execs at Warner Brothers quickly snatched up the film rights. Blatty made certain he was on board to do more than just write the script.
William Peter Blatty was a really clever guy. When it came time to do the film, he made sure that he would be the producer and therefore be able to exert some level of control over the production.
Well, it's very unusual for a screenwriter to get free donuts and coffee, much less come aboard as producer. But Blatty had written the book, and so he had a little bit more leverage.
While Blatty revamped his novel for the big screen, studio execs searched for the right director. Stanley Kubrick, Arthur Penn, and Peter Bogdanovich all dismissed the assignment as run-of-the-mill horror schlock. Finally, William Friedkin, the Oscar-winning director of The French Connection, said yes.
Bill Blatty, who I had known socially for a number of years, sent me his novel. I opened the book. I had a dinner engagement, and I opened up the manuscript. I never went out to dinner. I just read it straight through, and I thought, this is fantastic. And I called him and told him, and he said, would you like to make a movie out of it? And I said, absolutely.
In the spring of 1972, Friedkin and Blatty started hunting for the perfect cast. Max von Sydow was tapped for the crucial role of Father Merrin. The respected Swedish actor was only 42 years old, but Friedkin and Blatty felt he had the right combination of dignity and fire to bring the elderly priest to life. To play the mother of the possessed child, the studio wanted an A-list actress.
Specifically, they wanted for that role either Anne Bancroft, who was a major star then, Jane Fonda also, or Audrey Hepburn.
But Bancroft and Hepburn were not available.
And then it was offered to Jane Fonda, who read it and whose response was, and remember now, this was the early 70s, Jane Fonda said, why would I want to appear in a piece of capitalist horse like this?
39-year-old Ellen Burstyn had a very different reaction to the script. Burstyn was fresh off an Oscar nomination for her performance in The Last Picture Show, and that honor got Friedkin's attention. Burstyn got the job. A short time later, Friedkin caught a performance of That Championship Season, a stage drama written by 33-year-old Jason Miller. Miller also starred in the play, and though he'd never acted in front of a camera, Friedkin liked Jason's intensity. Miller was cast in the part of the younger priest, Father Karras. Only one major role remained, Regan McNeil, the young girl possessed by the devil. But finding an actress who could portray both innocence and evil was tough.
Juliet Taylor, the casting director, had winnowed through hundreds of New York City school children. We were not looking for an actress. We did not want a Hollywood child. We wanted a real child.
Then, a 12-year-old film and TV veteran named Linda Blair showed up.
I read originally for the casting director, and the dialogue for a child was extreme. And I remember thinking to myself, how am I going to tell my mother? So I didn't.
We finally got it down to 3, and at that point, Billy and I interviewed the girls, and I have only a vague recollection of that, except that my conclusion was, and certainly his, was that she projected the stability and the wholesomeness and the optimism and the normalcy that we wanted for this girl.
When I met Linda, I knew instantly that she was pulled together enough and bright enough and intelligent enough to deal with this material.
I didn't grow up Catholic. I didn't know about the devil. That's the safety net for why I was chosen to do the character, I think, because it was nothing ever than a monster for me.
With the cast in place, Friedkin focused on the supernatural special effects needed to transform a young girl into a demon.
I come in for a conference.
And he shows, the first thing he does practically is show me a picture of Linda Blair. And here's this cute little 12-year-old girl with a chubby face and everything. And I have already learned what the basic story is. And I think, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? How can I change this into a believable little monster?
Special effects whiz Marcel Vercouter believed the exorcism scenes needed to be frightening and brutal.
Billy, I said, I'm going to be the devil, right? That's who I am. I'm the unseen devil. And I said, I wouldn't do that. I said, I'd pick that little gal up and just thrash her, you know. And really? And I said, well, you know, why fool around? He said, okay, whatever you want to put in there in that bedroom scene, you got it. And I says, okay, thank you. So that's the way we went to New York.
Vercouter and Dick Smith flew to Manhattan for makeup and special effects tests.
This was 3 months before filming was to start. So I immediately started designing several makeups to test. And the first one I did was pretty extreme.
It wasn't like the first test. We said, that's it, move on. You'd shoot a test, look at it, and say, that doesn't work, and for this reason, yada, yada, yada. And so Dick would go back to the drawing board, and he'd come up with something new.
I had found that covering up her brows, building them just a slight bit, but removing the eyebrows, and this gave her more of a skeletal look and was more foreboding. And yet it looked very subtle because it looked totally natural.
When I was first introduced to Dick Smith, of course, I had no idea who this man was, nor did I care. Anything he did to me was uncomfortable. I mean, they plastered my face in every direction. First, it was almost a full mask, and Billy Friedkin said, no, I have to be able to know that it's her. Dick made these tiny pieces that just covered different parts of my face. And as he said, to take a so-called like a cherubic face and to make it into something very evil.
Smith and Vercouter collaborated to create the infamous Linda Blair dummy, which made the impossible seem plausible.
He did his thing and I did my thing, and they both came together.
12-year-old Linda Blair required more than just a stunt dummy, however. Friedkin enlisted 21-year-old actress Eileen Dietz to double for Blair in some of the more graphic and physically challenging exorcism scenes.
And this was on a principal contract, and they specifically spoke to me at that time about just shooting the, as we called it, the abuse of the cross sequence, the masturbation sequence.
Dietz threw herself into the role of the possessed girl.
First of all, they were testing me to see if I could do it, and then they were testing special effects. I just kind of remember going into this outer world, and it's like, Mommy, please, you so, you so, you know, which is actually isn't in the movie. You never see the two of them. But I had a ball.
Finally, in July 1972, The Exorcist was ready to roll with a modest $5 million budget and an impossible 85-day production schedule.
We knew going in that it was going to go longer than scheduled and be more expensive than scheduled. It was an unspoken word, but we knew it. Everybody knew it.
Coming up, coincidence or curse?
And then he hits and he goes all the way to the bottom. And every time he turned over, the blood came out.
By summer 1972, director William Friedkin assembled an all-star cast and crew to shoot The Exorcist. Yet nothing prepared these Hollywood veterans for what lay ahead. Just days before film rolled on The Exorcist, writer-producer William Blatty stepped in. Blatty thought his friend, Father William O'Malley, was perfect for the small but pivotal role of Father Dyer.
They were looking for a genial doofus priest, and I walked into the part like a hand into a surgeon's glove. They couldn't have done better, I don't think. I mean, if they're looking for somebody who is incredibly airheaded but smart, how about that?
Friedkin came out of documentary filmmaking, gritty, true, realistic, authentic. And I suspect for him, having the real priest in the film was a way for him to add sort of local color to the film.
Friedkin didn't stop there. He took one look at the soundstage on West 54th Street, and heads rolled.
We took a walkthrough, and by the time we finished this walkthrough, Billy fired the production designer and the set decorator and hired 2 new people who flew in from California.
4 weeks and $200,000 later, shooting finally began on The Exorcist. The date, August 29th, 1972. Friedkin demanded that the first frames sizzle.
And we're already like a month behind. We haven't shot anything at all. The first shot, we're going to see an egg break next to some bacon. And the camera's going to pull back, start the shot. Egg breaks. The bacon is not straight on the grill. And Billy says, I want straight bacon. I don't want the bacon to curve. Well, the prop man goes out in the neighborhood to find bacon without preservatives and bring it back so that they can have the bacon. I don't know how many hours it took for that to occur, and that was the beginning of the making of the movie.
The beginning of The Exorcist curse wasn't far behind. In early September, actor Jason Miller took his 3 children to a local beach, but their day of fun quickly turned tragic when Miller's 5-year-old son, Jordan, was hit by a motorcycle. The boy's legs were crushed. Jordan was admitted to a local hospital in critical condition. Meanwhile, production on The Exorcist continued. A few days after the accident, director William Friedkin called an impromptu meeting between Miller and Father O'Malley to discuss some heavy scenes. But Jason had other things on his mind. His son.
Here it is, something like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Billy gives us Jack Daniels. And so I'm sipping this Jack Daniels, and Miller is sloshing this Jack Daniels, and Billy excuses himself to take a phone call. And Jason really got sauced, or appeared to be, and he started to cry. And I put my arm around him and let him cry. And all of a sudden I heard Billy Friedkin at the door saying, oh, Jesus, if only I had a camera. Because we were playing out that scene. He'd set us up.
Miller's son remained in critical condition for 10 days. Then he made a sudden, miraculous recovery. Still, the accident casts an ominous shadow over the production.
Some weird things had been happening on the sets, and people were getting really spooked about the film they were working on.
In October 1972, the company traveled to Washington, D.C. Several scenes were filmed at Georgetown University, a Jesuit college founded in 1789. Father Thomas King taught theology at the school.
When they first came, I remember they were, in general, spooked out in that they felt the devil was after them to try to make them stop making the movie. So anyway, I remember then Blatty asked me, would you bless the movie set as we're ready to start filming? I said, yes, I'll do that. And then he said, how long will it take? And I said, 8 minutes. They wanted everything precise. So I said 8 minutes. I remember then giving a blessing there and sprinkling everybody with holy water for a while. And that was the blessing that we gave as they started filming in town.
The exterior of the fictional McNeil house was also shot on location in Georgetown.
They took the house and they did make it look like it could be a haunted house. It didn't look haunted at all, just it's a very square, ordinary shape. And but they made their little additions and it looked very different.
Friedkin's perfectionism knew no bounds, especially when it came to one of the movie's most famous moments, the arrival of Father Merrin.
I got it all lit up and said we were ready, and Billy came to the set and he looked up at the window and he said, you can't have the shade open. You got to have the shade closed on the window. And I said, how can I close the shade and see the shaft of light coming out of it? And he basically said, that's your problem. You work it out, but this is what I want.
The cast and the rest of the crew went home for the night, leaving Roisman and his team to come up with a solution.
We actually took the sash of the window with the window frame and moved it back a few feet away from the window and put it on a separate platform, and then took an arc light and put it on another platform alongside of it, and shown that through the open window frame now. It took some creative thinking, but it worked great.
Mrs. McNeil.
Yes.
I'm Father Mary. Thank you.
The scene where Father Marin arrives happened to be Max von Sydow's first day of work.
Is Father Karras here?
Yes.
Father?
He's here already.
Father Karras. It's an honor to meet you, Father. I'm very tired. No. I'd like you to go quickly across to the residence, Damien, and gather up the cash for myself. Your surplices, your purple stole, and some holy water. And your copy of the Roman ritual, the large one. I believe we should begin.
The very next morning, however, von Sydow received some horrible news. His brother died unexpectedly in Stockholm. Von Sydow caught the next flight back to Sweden. The curse of the exorcist was gathering force. In the movie, Father Karras battles the demon inside of Reagan, leading to the shocking climax filmed on the 100-foot stairway that connected Prospect Avenue to the Georgetown waterfront.
You son of a bitch! Come into me! Take me! Take me!
For the dangerous scene in which Father Karras plunges to his death, Marcel Vercouter rigged the stuntman with special care.
I took a big plastic bag. I taped it to his back, and I filled the whole thing with blood. Fake blood. The whole bag. And lined 90-some steps with half-inch foam rubber. And then he took a run, and then they had the shot where he's in midair. And then he hits and he goes all the way to the bottom. And every time he turned over, the blood came out. Going, and when he landed at the bottom, he was just perfectly right.
Still, Friedkin wanted more. The scene continued at the bottom of the steps, where Father Dyer gives Father Karras the last rites.
Do you want to make a confession? And we stop and go into the camper and drink Irish coffee. And so here I am talking to this guy. I've just given the last rites 5 times and drinking Irish coffee with him, which is an unusual situation. After about an hour, we go back out and we do the whole thing again with the camera over there.
Are you sorry? Are you sorry for having offended God? With all the sins of your past life?
So finally, Billy comes over to me and says, Bill, he says, you're just doing it by the numbers. I said, Billy, I've just given my best friend the last rites 15 times in one night, and it's now 2:30 in the morning. He says, I understand. So he said, you trust me? Well, you always trust somebody until they ask you. I said, Billy, I trust you. Wham! Right across the face. And he backed out of the shot, and I went in there, and if you look at the scene, or it's actually printed, my hand's going like that. That's not me. That was the adrenaline caused by that devil Friedkin. He'd do anything to get a shot.
Himself, nobody just because he's doing it. How many punches did he give you? Exactly.
Coming up, The Exorcist goes up in flames.
Working on that film was like taking a trip to hell and living to tell about it.
By winter 1972, location shooting of The Exorcist wrapped in Georgetown, but production was way behind schedule. Back at the soundstage in New York City, cast and crew prepared for the film's most crucial scenes, including the terrifying exorcism. Shortly before Christmas 1972, the Vatican newspaper published a special section devoted exclusively to the devil. In the piece, Pope Paul VI reaffirmed Satan's presence on earth. Director William Friedkin tried to charm the devil out of his increasingly anxious team.
There were all of these things going on where people on the set were starting to get a little freaked out about the film, and it was beginning to interfere, with the work process, with the production.
By January 1973, the atmosphere on the New York soundstage grew even more tense.
There was a great feeling that bad things were happening during the making of the movie.
Even I got the sense that, I'm fooling around with something here. The Lord's going to get me, or the devil's going to get me, or something like that. It was a lot of head stuff that you put in your own mind.
Vercater's fear quickly became reality. Actor Jack McGowan played movie director Burke Dennings in the film. His character dies after a violent encounter with a possessed Reagan. Just 2 weeks after McGowan finished his scenes, he met his own untimely death from influenza. He was only 54 years old.
Who knows if the production was cursed in any way? Certainly a hell of a lot of things happened.
Then, according to several members of the cast and crew, a terrible blaze incinerated one of the sets.
The Curse of the Exorcist, you couldn't ask for a movie that could generate more rumors. All I know is that there was one fire, which was real.
More than 3 decades later, the alleged fire remains open to debate.
There wasn't a fire. There wasn't any symptom of a fire. One night or one day or something, one of the 4-aught cables or something started to get hot and it smoked.
I did not see the things that other people maybe saw. The fact that we had an electrical short that caused the set to burn down is not uncommon when you work for a very long period of time, in this case, a year on a set.
I never saw any fire myself.
One thing is certain. There were no flames in the film's most chilling scenes, the possession of Reagan McNeil.
The quest for realism just went to unbelievable levels on The Exorcist. The final portion of the film was set in Regan's bedroom, and Friedkin wanted it to be this unearthly chill in the room, and he wanted to see the actors' breath as they spoke. Now, today, you could do that with computer-generated effects. You couldn't do that then.
Billy said, I want to see some breath. Okay. And so I built a cocoon around the whole bedroom, 40 feet square, 20 feet high. The walls were about 1.5 feet thick with insulation. I brought in a refrigeration unit and cranked that thing up at night, and we had it down to 10 below zero. And it was cold.
We would do the rehearsal, do the lighting, and then turn the air conditioners back on, and everybody would step out until the room cooled down again. And we had to wait until the room was, I think, close to 20 below zero before we could go back in and shoot.
And Billy wore a famous red jumpsuit, which he was always walking around in.
It was cold. It was difficult. It was uncomfortable. And it wasn't pleasant.
Look down in pity. You killed my mother. Your servant. You left her alone.
Despite the extreme demands on camera, Friedkin made sure his young star enjoyed a regular life off camera, as much as possible anyway.
Warner Brothers rented a very, very beautiful hotel suite overlooking.
Squirting it and using it, and she went through cases of it.
Friedkin wanted the bile to shoot directly from Reagan's mouth, with no camera tricks.
What is it?
So what I literally did was to take some thin sheets, and I would put them over the life mask to form them to fit the face. So there was a thin, flat gap in between them in the middle. So they were basically...
Calm and test your THS IQ. May 1973, The Exorcist was in the can, almost. Cast and crew completed the harrowing exorcism sequence, including the abuse of the cross scene. After 224 days of principal photography, director William Friedkin insisted that the film's elaborate prologue be shot on location in Iraq, exactly as written by William Peter Blatty in his novel.
Iraq, oh boy. I can tell you stories about Iraq. How much film have you got?
The Mideast scenes were originally scheduled to be shot first, but delays in obtaining permits and visas killed that plan, pushing production into the blistering heat of the Iraqi summer. Accommodations weren't exactly 4-star.
It was so primitive then that in the second largest city in Iraq, if you wanted to call out of the country, you had to go to the post office, make out an application, tell them where you would be, generally speaking, and then they would notify you. Now, you were lucky if maybe 3 days later, they came in the middle of the night at your hotel, woke you up and said, you can make your telephone call now.
For the 10-minute desert prologue, Friedkin shot 4 hours of footage.
We were supposed to be there just 1 week. It was so fascinating. It was so picturesque. The things that were, the footage that Billy took just for background stuff, he had a ton of it. And so he was having a ball.
Finally, in July 1973, The Exorcist wrapped. After nearly a year's work, Friedkin flew back to New York to begin post-production.
The film, once it was done, happened to be edited at an address, a very specific address in New York City. It was 666 Fifth Avenue. So maybe that was part of the curse, too.
In October, 2 months before the scheduled release date, Friedkin relocated to the West Coast to mix the blood-curdling soundtrack.
I remember Friedkin pulling out a book of Hieronymus Bosch paintings and saying, I want Linda Blair's voice to sound like these paintings.
Friedkin tried out all sorts of electronic sound effects, but nothing seemed to work. Then he got an idea. To make the demon's voice human, enter Mercedes McCambridge, a 57-year-old actress with a deep, raspy voice no one could forget. McCambridge won an Oscar for her role in All the King's Men, but The Exorcist called for a new bag of tricks.
I know how hard she worked because Billy Friedkin told me that he kept her up for 24 hours, that he had her drinking and swallowing egg yolks and vomiting and smoking cigarettes. And so she went through a lot. She did her own performance in order to give that performance. And it's incredible.
The sound drives the movie. The Linda Blair voice is unlike anything that we've heard up until that time in the history of film sound.
Everyone who saw the initial cut knew Friedkin achieved the impossible.
I was out in Hollywood for something. It was 6 months later. And I called Billy, and he said, oh, yeah, why don't you come on over? I've just finished putting together the masturbation scene. I looked at that thing. It only runs a little tiny bit over a minute.
So that's their perspective. Hey, Seven Queens. Welcome. That's their perspective of what they have to deal with as far as the unknown. As far as the unknown. And because their understanding is all that they show us. That's their understanding pretty much of the world, pretty much of the unknown. And to them, you know, they see us as evil. And they see themselves as good. So we're in a condition where we're supposed to see ourselves as good and know that they are evil, you know. But, you know, because they are very wicked in the world that we're existing in, they commit all kinds of atrocities. We have been programmed through religions to think that they are just that. But we shouldn't think like that, because we see also they have also shown us the other side of their hand and how they get down. So you see why nature is trying to rid them from the planet. But at the same time, because it doesn't coincide with it's not no balance, and they are here keeping us trapped in our cardinal minds. So we have to balance out our spiritual selves, the solar, with the cardinal, in order for us to reach the height we have to reach through our kundalini. So in order to get to that objective, we must protect ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually, all the way around. All the way around. Protecting ourselves physically is protecting ourselves spiritually. You see how that works, family? Because we didn't make them enemies. They made us. Okay, let's look at some comments. Okay, you'll check it out, Miss Life Lessons. Definitely check out that video by RFG. He's got some pretty good stuff. Okay. Yes, they're very wicked orcs. And then they turn around. Yeah, I don't follow Young Pharaoh because of the name. Basically, what I see, Young Pharaoh, and the name Pharaoh, it's pretty much Greek, so it doesn't have really anything to do with us. It's Greek, it's Caucasian. It's ideology that they made up for Pharaoh, the word Pharaoh. So I don't deal with their ideologies, so I don't even deal with orcs. So I deal with Remedy H. Yeah, I'm subscribed to his channel, definitely. Okay. I don't understand how they see us evil. We have mistreated them, or we have not mistreated them or destroyed the planet with chemistry. Yes, exactly. They it's in their nature. Yeah, Young Pharaoh is all right. He's all right. Oh, can you close the door? The door's closed. Young Pharaoh is all right. I know we have not mistreated them at all. You know, we haven't done anything to them for them to do what they do. But if nature is trying to get rid of them, I have no qualms about that, and I have no qualms about anything else. But I do have problems with the lies and and dominating. I have a problem with the domination, world domination. So we are a threat to them, because basically this world domination is just one sign of why we're a threat to them. They feel like, I guess they just naturally see us as wicked to them, as evil. They're evil. They're a polar opposite. They're evil towards them. So they see us like that. And therefore, that's what we deal with on the planet. So thank you, girl. Thank you, all the brothers that showed up. Thank you, light beings. And that's the end of the Whirlpool One for the day. Until next time, true love, real peace, the higher self within the soul. Let me clear this out. And please come and join us this evening, for I will be, where have to look that? Oh, okay. Yeah, what they worship and what they do is they try to go into the unknown world. The Baphomet is nothing but it's basically the body, the soul being engulfed into the animal body. I mean, animal mind. The soul being encased in the animal mind. So, yeah, they worship that stuff, and it's to the detriment of us, and that's why they get attacked. That's why they get attacked by dwelling into that stuff. Yeah, that's why they get attacked. Yeah. Yes, Miss Life Lessons, I do too. I definitely want nature to do its work expeditiously, because they affect us more than we affect them. Close the door. Let me see. I can't remember where I was at. Okay, family. With that said, come join me later on at 7 o'clock. I'm going to be talking about some more interesting topics. So please come join me at 7 if you can. And peace and love, family.